An update on the truck in a while. I thought I'd have a lot more done by now, but it's kind of slowed going. I lost motivation. Then I went down to Bonneville for the Salt Flat Racing and saw a ton of rods and rat rods and that kind of stuff, and kind of got me motivated to work on it again. So anyway, I'll show you what I've got done so far. The top is pretty much done being chopped. I still have the other windshield or door frame to do on the other side, the passenger side. I got this little Pukey V6 sitting in here, and the only reason why it's in there is because it was mated to the transmission that I'm using, so they just made it easy to set it all in there. Let's see, I had to cut the floor out for the transfer case since this thing's going to be four-wheel drive, so I had to, luckily I didn't have to cut a whole lot out of it, so that was kind of nice. I am going to have to probably notch that over the transmission just a little bit more, so, but easy to do. Found this this Ford Ranger seat, open the door, and it fits in here like a glove, so I'm psyched on that, and it was free, so free is good. Trying to keep with the whole, you know, on the cheap with this build, and as most everybody is in this world these days with the economy, but so free was good. I was psyched on that. Basically, I guess the biggest thing I got done for the most part is the rear suspension. I was able to I did basically a 4-link with a track bar. I made my, they're not a parallel 4-link. After doing some research, I made my upper link wider at the frame end than it is on the axle end, and I did that because I want this thing to squat a bit. And from what I read of squat and anti-squat, when the frame mounts are closer together in a vertical plane, that will give you anti-squat. And I have another vehicle that has a ton of anti-squat, and I'm like, I'm tired of anti-squat. I want this thing to hunker down and scoot. So, and I got the airbags are in the back. Basically everything on the frame end is all done except for these front mounts right here. They'll have a double shear to them. I still have to run a piece that'll come off the frame here and then come up, and then it'll be boxed in. This is just to locate the axle for now. Track bar is in there, works pretty decent. I didn't want to use a Heim on that end, but what was the reason why I did? I can't think of. Oh, because it's attached to the upper control arm, it sees a lot more angularity change when the suspension cycles. So in order to keep it from binding, I've used a Heim over there. And the reason why I didn't want to use a Heim joint is because it violates the on the cheap theory. So because right there with the Heim and the misalignment washers and the tube adapter and the jam nut, that's probably like, I don't know, 50 or 60 bucks, and that's definitely not on the cheap. But so everything else has been bushings. The only one that isn't a bushing is, and it's a large 2-inch or 2.5-inch flex joint, is right here on this frame end. I did that because I do want the rear to flex a little bit, and I really like those things. They're really easy to build and work with. Here you can see this one up under here, right there in the front. And they're greasable. They're sweet as hell. So I went ahead and used just 2, one on each side of the lower control arms. My 4-link where the brackets are on the axle, those will all be plated, gusseted, so on and so forth. Same with the airbags. The airbags just on a tab right now welded to the axle, so it'll be braced up. I have some pretty stout looking bump stops on here. I plan on launching this thing and being kind of rough on it, so I wanted something to deaden the blow of the landings and stuff in the rear. So those are the bump stops. So I kind of have the air half-fast plumbed in. It works pretty decent. I'll show you here. Okay, this is it at full droop. This or full compression. There it is, sitting on the bump stops. See, I got room around the track bar where it and the frame. This is tight up in here, but there's room between everything right there. So the bump stops are going to give a little bit. I may contact the top of the diff, maybe, depending on how hard I land or something, but I doubt it. I doubt the airbags would let it compress that far. And to air it up, this is what I'm using to control the bags. These are seat valves out of over-the-road truck. Here's a Freightliner gauge and an air leak, as you can hear. But the seat valves work pretty cool. It won't be a real quick inflate, and unfortunately the deflate is even slower, which is kind of a bummer. I kind of wanted it to be able to just set it down kind of rapidly whenever I squatted the truck down. But basically, here's what it looks like. Here's how this thing works, and here's how the ride height of the truck changes. And that right there is like 25 PSI is all it takes. Now granted, the back of this thing's super light, but it's gonna ride. It should ride fairly nice. I mean, it's got some decent give to it. I don't have any shocks on it right now, but I don't think it's gonna ride real stiff. I think it's gonna be fairly smooth. So I'm excited about that. Got a little reservoir tank right here. That was on my crawler, my rock crawler. I used to have onboard air on it until I did put the V8 in it, and I don't have the brackets set up yet for the air compressor, so I figured I'll just yank the tank out of it. It's kind of small, but it'll serve my purposes with this plenty fine. I'm not looking to hop this thing with air and do all that kind of stuff, so you won't find any solenoids and none of that kind of stuff in this thing. So, and then to air it down, I'm going to take the air off of this thing. To set the suspension down, you just, am I going the right way? I think I'm going the wrong way. Yeah, there it is. And it's hard to tell. See, it airs down really slow. I might be able to change that with running some larger lines, but I kind of doubt it because the port in this seat valve is really small. I actually modified this one and drilled it out to try to let it sit down a little bit faster, because all the air just comes out of this tiny little hole right in here. So, but it's going to work. It's going to work pretty decent. And I'll just be able to control ride height real easily from in the cab, and it won't be, I see so many of them on YouTube and stuff that are real herky-jerky when they put air to them and let the air out, and they're slamming them into the ground and stuff, and I'm like, it's just kind of not my style. So, decided not to do that. And that's about it for now. I got the steel out in the car for the bed sides. I'm going to start building here, hopefully in a few minutes, start building on those, and should be good. I'm excited.